Okay, we're recording.
Are we really recording?
We're recording.
We're recording?
We're recording.
All right.
On Friday, December 20th, 1968, 17-year-old David Arthur Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen planned for their very first date, as Jensen had not been allowed by her parents to date until now. They were supposed to go to a Christmas concert at their high school, but upon meeting, they instead decided to visit a mutual friend and then go to dinner.
So what, they were supposed to go to some dumb dance, and they were like, I'm attracted to you, let's have dinner, folks.
At roughly 10:15 p.m., Faraday parked his mother's car at their local Lover's Lane spot.
I've never heard a good Lover's Lane story. It's always bad.
Around 11, the couple were approached by a mysterious figure. While the details of the situation remain unclear to this day, we suspect that another car parked beside them and that its occupant exited the vehicle, potentially with the intention of ordering the couple out of their car. We know that Jensen exited the car before Faraday, but when Faraday was halfway out of the vehicle, the unknown man shot him in the head. Seeing this, Jensen tried to run away, but the unknown man shot her 5 times in the back. She only made it 28 feet from the car before succumbing to her wounds. This murder shocked California residents, who would come up with no motive and, even more alarmingly, no perpetrator. What they didn't realize at the time was that this was only the first of many visits that they were to receive from the Zodiac killer. We are the Cult of Greg, and thank you for joining us. Just before midnight on July 4th, 1969, 22-year-old Darlene Elizabeth Farron and 19-year-old Mike Majot parked Farron's car roughly 4 miles from the spot where Faraday and Jensen met their demise. According to Majot, they had only stopped the car to talk, as Farron had a husband.
No, hold on. This gets me... What do you mean? She stopped to talk because she has a husband. Who even asked you if you had a husband and what you were doing?
So I will say that because she had a husband at the time and they were parked at the Lover's Lane location, her husband was considered a suspect, but after investigation, he was ruled out.
I expect you to tell me more about this investigation in the future. Do you plan to?
Not really. There's been a lot of suspects about the Zodiac killer.
Oh. Alright, okay, so just one we're just gonna leave out.
So yeah, this is just one of many suspects.
Curious and curiouser.
Most everyone's mad here.
While sitting in her car, a light brown Ford Mustang or Chevrolet Corvair pulled up next to them, but it drove away almost immediately. Roughly 10 minutes later, the same car returned, and a man carrying a flashlight emerged from the vehicle. Assuming the man was a cop, the pair were scrambling to get their IDs ready. But when the man approached them, he shone the flashlight directly into their eyes before firing a 9mm Luger 5 times, hitting both of them, with some bullets even passing through Majot and into Farron. The man started to walk away, but when he heard Majot release a sound of pain, either a moan or a scream, he turned back around and shot both victims twice more.
Just because he was like, okay, I f***ed up the first time. No noise for my victims. Not how you play dead.
Oh god.
Gotta take care of the witnesses. That's on my brown car, which was still apparently known. Did somebody live through this?
Oh, I'm getting to that in a minute.
I was like, how is this car report being done? Okay, cool. Alright, he tried, but he sucks at his job right now. As a killer, he sucks at his job.
Farron ultimately passed away from her injuries, but Majot not only survived, he was able to give a description of his assailants to the police. He claimed the man was Caucasian, roughly 5'8" in height, and somewhere between the ages of 26 to 30. He had a stocky build, a round face, and brown hair.
So so far you've told me he's what, a basic white guy?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Very, very typical face going on here. But how was it that the shooting of Farron and Majot came to be reported? Well, is where the story starts to get weird. Roughly 45 minutes after the attack, the Vallejo Police Department received a call from a man who claimed to be responsible for the shooting. He also claimed to be responsible for the shooting of Faraday and Jensen. Police were able to track the call to a phone booth at a gas station that was only a few blocks away from the Vallejo Police Department, but no signs of the killer could be found. Nearly a month would pass with no news from this unknown killer. But on August 1st, 1969, 3 separate newspapers, the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner, would each receive nearly identical letters. In these letters, the otherwise anonymous writer would again claim responsibility for the shootings. He included in his letter a 408-symbol cryptogram, which he claimed would reveal his identity once solved. The killer demanded that this cryptogram be published on each paper's front page. Otherwise he would, and I quote, "cruise around all weekend, killing lone people in the night, then move on to kill again, until I end up with 12 people over the weekend."
So he's basically like blackmailing the media.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I mean, if his goal is to be known.
The San Francisco Chronicle did end up publishing its part of the cryptogram, along with a quote from Vallejo Police Chief Jack E. Stilts, stating, "We're not satisfied that the letter was written by the murderer." Stilts went on to ask for more facts that might prove that the cryptogram was written by the actual killer. The threatened massacre did not occur, and the remaining parts of the cryptogram were eventually published.
If the murders weren't, they didn't happen, why did they continue to publish the rest of the stuff?
I guess just they wanted more information. He claimed that solving the cryptogram would reveal his identity as well.
I guess they were kind of hoping that somebody else would solve the cryptogram for them.
Possibly, yeah. On August 7th, 1969, the San Francisco Examiner received a second letter. This one titled, "Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." This was the first time that the killer used the name Zodiac to identify himself. In this letter, the Zodiac included details about the murders that the public were not made aware of, including the position of the bodies and the weapon used.
So what's the idea? Zodiac killer is as confusing and stupid as the normal Zodiac signs?
He also urged the public to solve the cryptogram again, stating that once it was solved, quote, "they will have me." The very next day, high school teacher Donald Hardin and his wife Betty solved the cryptogram, discovering a message from the Zodiac that reads as follows. "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name, because you will try to slow down or stop my collection of slaves for my afterlife."
What the hell is this? Incel meets Jonestown? This kind of... Yikes. What is this guy? I was down to hear about this guy at first, because I was like, maybe he's a calculated killer.
No, this is scary. This guy's scary.
He's a calculated incel cultist, I guess.
The final 18 letters of the cryptogram have yet to be solved, and despite the Zodiac's claim that his identity would be revealed with the letter, this proved yet another dead end.
So, do you ever figure that everything he's ever sending you is just a bunch of bull?
I did kind of wonder that every once in a while.
Just furthering the hype. It's all hype.
He does have some information that the average person just reading these newspaper articles shouldn't be able to know, so it is a little bit suspect.
It's weird. Maybe he knows the Zodiac killer.
I mean, it's possible, yeah. On September 27th, 1969, over a month after the cryptogram was solved, 20-year-old Brian Calvin Hartnell and 22-year-old Cecilia Ann Shepard were enjoying a picnic by the lake. Here they were approached by a man described as 5'11", roughly 170 pounds in weight, with combed but greasy brown hair. He was wearing an executioner-style mask with clip-on sunglasses over the eye holes.
Who wears a mask like that? And even in 1969, that's a scary mask to wear. Is it Halloween? It's not Halloween.
Nope.
It's September 26th, 27th, right?
Yep.
What is he doing?
Looking terrifying, that's for sure. Nobody's watching this man approach and thinking, yeah, this is gonna be a good time. A bib-like piece over his neck blazoned a cross-circle symbol on it. He approached the couple with a .45 and told them that he had recently escaped from a jail with a 2-word name in either Montana or Colorado. He said that he had killed a guard and stolen a car while escaping, and that he needed their car now because his was too hot. He ordered Shepard to tie Hartnell up before binding her hands, and when he realized that she hadn't bound Hartnell tight enough, he tied his hands again. At the time, Hartnell thought that the man would simply rob them and leave. Instead, the man produced a knife, and he proceeded to stab Hartnell 6 times, while Shepard was stabbed 10 times. Once finished, the man hiked 500 yards to the couple's car, where he drew the same cross-circle symbol on the door with a black felt-tip pen, before adding the date, time, and cause of death underneath.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a lot. Like, I'm very unsure. It's a lot of, okay.
The Zodiac would go on to sign his letters to the police with this same cross-circle symbol. A little over an hour later, the killer called to report the stabbing before confessing to being responsible. The police were able to trace the call to a car wash, again only a short distance from the police station. And this time, they were able to uncover a palm print from the phone. But this would again prove inconclusive. By the time that police arrived on the scene, both Shepard and Hartnell were still alive. But Shepard slipped into a coma on the way to the hospital and passed away within 48 hours of the attack. Hartnell, however, survived to report the event to the police. Only 2 weeks after this, on October 11th, cab driver Paul Stein picked up a white male passenger who requested to be dropped off at Washington and Maple Street. For some reason, Stein drove past Maple Street onto Cherry Street, where Stein was shot once in the head before his wallet and keys were stolen. A group of teenagers observed the shooting from across the street, and they called in the crime while it was in progress. The teenagers told them that they had observed the man wiping the vehicle down before walking toward the Presidio Park. 2 blocks from the crime scene, officers Don Fook and Eric Zelms reported seeing a white man, 35 to 45 years old, around 5'10", with his brown hair cut in a crew-cut style. This man stepped onto the stairway of one of the nearby homes, but for some inexplicable reason, police were told to keep an eye out for a black man, and so nobody stopped this suspicious-looking gentleman. Initially, the Stein murder was assumed to be a general robbery. It wasn't until October 13th that police received a new letter from the Zodiac, which included a piece of Stein's bloody shirt. The police began attributing the Zodiac for this murder. Now, the victims that I have discussed so far have been the canonical victims of the Zodiac killer. However, the police would continue receiving letters from the Zodiac until 1974.
So does this ever get to a spot of, like, potentially copycat killer?
The definitively accepted letters from the Zodiac are the ones that A, have the same handwriting on them, the same symbol, and claim more information than the average just person reading the newspaper would pick up on.
So, okay, it kind of sounds like it gets to a copycat level.
Potentially.
So is Zodiac Cypher, is that his last name? Zodiac Cypher?
He just kind of went by the Zodiac Killer.
I know, I'm just teasing. Just gonna play a joke. Maybe he's brothers of Bill Cypher.
And up to 37 victims have been claimed by the Zodiac himself. In the same letter that included the piece of Stein's bloody shirt, the Zodiac had also threatened to open fire on a school bus, describing how easy and satisfying it would be to just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out.
Jeepers Creepers, man.
Very Jeepers Creepers, yeah.
Where'd you get those peepers?
Shortly after this, the Zodiac Killer called into Oakland Police Department, requesting that one of two prominent lawyers appear on a local TV show hosted by Jim Dunbar. Of these lawyers, he either wanted F. Lee Bailey or Melvin Belly, both of whom were very well known in the Bay Area. Bailey was unavailable, but Melvin Belly appeared on the show as requested. While on the show, Melvin Belly did receive a call from a man who identified himself as Sam.
Wait, so he asked to hear from the Zodiac Killer, and then somebody called in and be like, I have done those things. I will kill again, because that's what I am supposed to do.
Sam complained about terrible headaches that he couldn't control.
Just tell us what's going on inside you right now, Sam, please.
I have headache.
And at one point in the interview, he even roared as a result of one of these headaches, before threatening, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill all those kids.
I want to kill those kids.
Belly asked to meet Sam, and he reportedly responded by saying, meet me on the top of the Fairmont Hotel, without anybody else, or I'll jump. Eventually, Belly and Sam agreed to meet at a location in Daly City. But when Belly showed up at the location with police, reporters, and onlookers in tow, Sam predictably wasn't there. The police determined that Sam was most likely an imposter, claiming that he was too pitiful and pathetic to be the Zodiac, and even dubbing him Sam the Sham.
Man, I hope this guy gets caught in the end. And I have a feeling he's not going to, because he's kind of escaped it as of now.
Yeah. On November 8th, the Zodiac would send another cryptogram to the police. And after 51 years of waiting, this cryptogram was actually solved in 2020 by David Oranjak, Jarl Van Eyck, and Samuel Blake. The cryptogram reads as follows. I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber, because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid, because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death. November 9th, the Zodiac sent another letter to the police, claiming that two officers had spoken to him the evening of Stein's murder. December 20th, the Zodiac sent another piece of Stein's shirt to Belly, along with a letter that begged for his help. The police would continue to receive letters from the Zodiac through the 1970s, but it became more difficult to determine how truthful these letters were. At some point, the Zodiac began to include a scoreboard in his letters, counting his number of murders as opposed to the police's level of success. By the end of his correspondence, the Zodiac had claimed responsibility for 37 murders.
How many of those were confirmed at this point?
7.
What the f***? How is he getting away with this?
On March 22nd, 1970, Kathleen Johns, who was 7 months pregnant, was traveling with her 10-month-old daughter when they were alerted by a car driving behind them, honking his horn and flashing its headlights. Johns pulled over, and the car behind her did as well. A man then approached her car, telling her that her right rear wheel was wobbling and that he could fix it. Johns allowed him to do so, but when she pulled back onto the highway, the wheel came off the car, forcing her to pull over again. The very same man offered to give Johns a ride to the nearest service station, but when he passed by multiple stations without stopping, she demanded to know what was going on. When he avoided the question, she and her daughter jumped out of the car while it was stopped in an intersection, and they hid in a nearby field while the man searched for them, yelling about how he wasn't going to hurt her. When Johns made it to the police to report the crime, she just happened to see a sketch of the Zodiac, and she identified him as the man who had attempted to abduct her. If this is true, the Zodiac never made any attempt to claim it as such, but there are multiple cases of missing or murdered people that may have been the result of the Zodiac's actions. We just don't have enough evidence to say anything definitively. This includes cases like the brutal beating and murder of 18-year-old Sherry Jo Bates in 1966, which, if true, would make it the earliest murder committed by the Zodiac. In investigation of this theory, police managed to uncover a poem written and discarded at the very same library where Bates had last been seen. And handwriting specialists have confirmed that it was written by the same person who wrote the Zodiac letters. Although the handwriting was messy, it is believed to have been signed R.H. And in a letter that the Zodiac wrote in 1971, he would claim responsibility for Bates's murder. But some have speculated that he might have lied about this to increase his own notoriety. The Zodiac would continue threatening a massacre against either school children or police officer for years. But ultimately, his final letter was received by San Francisco Chronicle on January 29, 1974. In this letter, the Zodiac praised the 1973 movie The Exorcist, calling it the best satirical comedy that I have ever seen. He then followed this up with a verse from the opera The Mikado, and then his usual score, Me 37, Police Department 0. This was the last confirmed action from the Zodiac killer, and although the investigation remains open to this day, we still don't know his true identity. The suspect most commonly associated with this case was a man named Arthur Lee Allen. Allen was first questioned by police on October 6, 1969, as he had been spotted in the same area of the Hartnell and Shepherd attack. But he claims that he had been scuba diving, and so he was released.
He was scuba diving?
Yep. In the
Where is the confirmation? That's so lackluster in terms of criminal investigation.
In 1971, however, Allen's friend Donald Cheney reported certain alarming behavior to the police, claiming that Allen spoke often about his desire to kill people, and that he had once mentioned his desire to use the pseudonym Zodiac and to fix a flashlight to a firearm to make it easier to hunt at night. On top of this, Allen was known to be a very disturbed person in his personal life. After receiving an other than honorable discharge from the U.S. Navy, Allen found work as an elementary school teacher, but he was fired in 1968 when he was accused of sexual misconduct with his students. In 1974, the very same year that the Zodiac stopped writing his letters, Allen was arrested for sexual assault against a 12-year-old boy.
Okay,
He was known to have a severe hatred towards women, and he never married or even dated a woman, which may explain why the Zodiac targeted couples, and why his attacks against women tended to be more brutal. On top of this, there were plenty of speculative evidence that pointed towards Allen. He owned the same brand of typewriter that the Zodiac used, and his wristwatch was a Zodiac brand.
Oh no. So there's a Zodiac watch brand?
Yep.
This is getting increasingly sloppy.
Police investigated Allen thoroughly, serving him multiple search warrants and even seizing property from Allen's house. However, in 2002, the San Francisco Police Department ran a DNA comparison between Allen and the traces of saliva that were taken from stamps on the Zodiac's letter. On top of this, a handwriting expert was given a sample of Allen's writing to compare to the Zodiac letters. It was determined that Allen was not the person who had written the Zodiac letters on both counts. I mean, end of day, what we do know about Allen is that he was a not cool dude. Definitely a pedophile. Definitely belongs in prison. Ted Kaczynski, best known as the Unabomber, was also investigated due to certain similarities, such as the fact that both men favored the use of cryptograms in their crimes, and both men enjoyed threatening the media. However, a fingerprint and handwriting sample ruled him out as a suspect. The police also claims to have investigated every male member of Charles Manson's Manson family cult, but nothing came of this.
I am so uncertain at this point. Like, I don't even know where to start.
It's hard to even say if the Zodiac is even like a solid person or just multiple people at this point. Like, there's just so much going on.
At this point, I kind of feel like multiple people.
That being said, there have been a couple of odd stories in recent years that might point to the Zodiac's true identity. In 2009, a former lawyer named Robert Tarbox took out a full-page ad in the Vallejo Times-Herald, claiming that he had evidence that would clear Arthur Lee Allen's name. He claims that in the early 1970s, an unnamed mariner showed up at Tarbox's office and claimed to be the Zodiac killer. Apparently, he was able to give enough details to convince Tarbox that he was telling the truth.
Like, at this point, who can't give enough detail?
I mean, kinda, yeah.
I'm just like...
And when he begged for Tarbox's help, he agreed. But the man never returned to his office again, and so he didn't think it was worth reporting at the time. The only reason why Tarbox was coming forward now was for Allen's sake. This story fits into the Zodiac killer's tendency to turn to lawyers for help. But as interesting as this story is, it still doesn't give us a name. Then again, in 2002, a man named Louis Joseph Myers confessed to being the Zodiac killer to his friend, Randy Kenny.
When did this crap hole start?
1968.
It's 2002! 34 years! Holy this is 34 years!
Yep. Myers was dying from cirrhosis of the liver, and he wanted Kenny to tell his story to the police after his death. He claimed that he had targeted young couples because he had recently been through a bad breakup, and that times of inactivity for the Zodiac killer corresponded with times that Myers was stationed overseas with the military. Myers had also attended the same high school as victims Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, and he worked at the same restaurant as victim Darlene Farron. Kenny did as Myers asked and turned to the police after his death. But he had such a difficult time convincing police to take him seriously that his story wasn't even reported to the media until February 2014. At this time, the police had stated that Kenny's story was compelling enough to merit interest. But without credible evidence, they cannot say anything definitive. And ultimately, this is where we leave our story.
No! I was already so uncertain.
Do you have any guesses?
I'm gonna stick with canon knowledge.
It is our hope here at the Cult of Greg that the person responsible for these horrible crimes can be known to grant some long-awaited closure to the surviving loved ones. Thank you for watching. We hope that you consider joining the cult by clicking that subscribe button. Until next time.
I love you.